Can I ask you a question?
The Bolton Ink Effect.
Good morning, Louis Bolton.
Good morning, Bridget Bolton.
Welcome to the Bolton Ink Effect podcast.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back. Been a while.
It has been a while.
I think I always say that when we start these podcasts. It's been a while.
Yes, you probably always say the same thing.
But life, love, and everything else. Eh?
So we talked about some possible themes for today's podcast, but I'm going to turn it around. And I'd like to interview you. I would like you to be a guest on my podcast.
This is the Bridget Bolton podcast.
Yeah. And the podcast that I'd like to talk about is just explore a little bit about what it means to be a man in a relationship, what it means to be a man in 2026. But before we get in, I'd like to timestamp this just by referring to some of the events around the world, because those events will change. But it's interesting to reflect back and go, oh yes, remember that. So Artemis 2 has landed.
So just before you do that,
Yes.
so at the time of this recording, it's just after Easter 2026.
I was going to get there. Okay, so Artemis 2 has landed. They went all around the moon and in fact lost contact with all humanity for an hour. So they saw the back of the moon, and I'll bring in those pictures back. So that'll be, in fact, mind-blowing to see. We are potentially on the brink of a massive war. We're waiting for Iran to agree to stop strikes on Lebanon. And then we're hoping that the Strait of Hormuz will open again so that we can get base crude stuff around the world again. Oil and helium and all the other gases that come around there. It's just after Easter, as you said. It's Easter holidays for us. Petrol is hitting I don't think it's the highest it's ever been, but it is pretty groundbreaking. So in some parts of Auckland, or in fact on Waiheke Island, petrol is like $7 a litre.
Diesel or petrol?
Diesel is $7 a litre. In our lives, diesel is what, $4?
Nearly $4.
Yeah.
$4.
And so
3 weeks ago, it was sitting at about 180.
yeah, exactly. So the impacts of this are the knock-on effects of this are enormous, just in terms of where this could leave us as a global population. So, in and amongst all of that, we as humans still have to contend with our relationships with each other, with our community, with ourselves. And you were recently, a couple of weeks ago, on a fairly enormous, is probably the best way to say it, expedition into yourself amongst a brotherhood of 30 other men. And I'd actually like to hear, in your summary, give me the short version of that weekend first, and then what I'd like to do is ask you some follow-up questions of where you are now that it's 2 weeks in your history. So can you share with me a summary of what that weekend was to you, what it meant to you?
So if I summed up the men's vitality experience that I went on just before Easter, in a nutshell would be connection, transformation, brotherhood, and what it means to be a man, what it means to show up as a man in my life. That would be the summary of what I
Okay,
would
so
say.
why is brotherhood important?
Okay, so in order for me
To
in order for me to explain that, I just need to give you a bit of context for how I got there and what it actually means. Okay, so you and I, as we know, and the reason this podcast exists was to talk about life, love, and everything else on our entrepreneurial journey and our journey through immigration from South Africa to here. We've been here nearly 8 years, and in that time, I haven't made many male friends. I've got acquaintances, but my two main friends are overseas, one in England and one in South Africa. And it's been an interesting time for me to be able to experience myself of what that actually looked like in terms of not having a male friend, confident that I could relate to.
Or even a community.
Or even a community, yeah. And I've tried various
You have
avenues or groups to try and get that, even through sport, through ultimate frisbee and through pickleball, etc. But what happened was it didn't tickle the boxes for me. It didn't go to a certain level that I needed to feel like it was a real connection. And I came across the bros group, bros.nz, okay? And I can't even remember how I got to them, but they held an online monthly circle, which I was invited to, or they sent it out and you could go onto it. And it was just a container where men got together online at New Moon and just spoke to each other and held a container where we could just share maybe what was going on in our lives. But it wasn't about giving advice or healing or anything like that. What it was is just being heard and just being seen, and realize that, okay, cool, there are other men out there that are out there.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. But it did feel...
I think there are other men out there who want and are seeking connection. Because otherwise you wouldn't all have been together in that space.
The word that you used there is seeking connection. Yes. And I'm not talking about a connection with a female or the opposite sex. I'm talking about actually like a brotherhood. And what does that even mean? For me, that is what does it mean to be a man? Okay. And at the time, before I went on the weekend, I was lost. I was definitely a yes man. I was soppy. I was feeling very sorry for myself. To the point where a couple of my mates actually, got hold of me and said, dude, you need to pull your finger out your ass and stop being a whiny bitch. And in the moment, you can't really see it. You know that there's something wrong. And I mean, even in our relationship and how we related to each other as man and as woman, there were definitely warning signs of I don't know how to paint it. I'm not sure. I mean, you'll have to speak to it from your perspective, but it just gives us some context.
Yeah, let's put that in a container because I would like to come back to that.
So what happened was there was a weekend called the Men's Vitality Experience where they look at the mind, body, and spirit. And it's men that the premise is more men around more fires. Fire, ironically, is for men, or for me, I'll speak from my perspective, it's like a conduit. It's like you can look into a fire sitting around with another man, and it's like a third wall, or what's the word I'm looking for? It breaks down the barrier. It doesn't put the barrier up. So you can say something and look into the flame, knowing that other man is looking into the flame, and I don't have to necessarily meet him at his eye.
So you can almost share confidences with this third party that is collecting.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, this goes back. This is primal.
Yes.
Primal male, masculine energy, where people would gather around the fire to braai or to barbecue or to congregate, to share stories, to tell stories, rituals, dance, drum, etc., with a flame, with a fire. There's so much stuff coming to me now. But it's a conduit for shared experience. And if you think about a fire, you start a fire with a spark, and the male energy is a spark. It's an ignition. It gets things going. Where the female is the container and the nurturer and the vessel that needs the spark to ignite it in order for it to do what it does. And the fire allows one to start small and with sticks, and then you put bigger logs on, and it creates this force and this energy and this light. But you have to keep feeding that fire. You have to keep feeding it in order for it to grow and sustain. And eventually it transmutes and it actually burns out. And there is a transformation from the solid into the ash. So there's a lot of metaphorical, there's a lot of figurative, there's a lot of layers to it. And that really resonated with me on so many levels. Even energetically, I've got to find the spark in myself and feed that energy through good food, through good health practices, feeding my mind what I need to do spiritually in order for me to be the best version of myself. And through the years that I've been here, it came at just the right time. So I went away down to Mangaroa Farms down in Wellington, where the Bros community hosted this Men's Vitality Experience, and 30 men of all walks of life and ages gathered in ceremony, gathered in ritual, gathered together around fires. And we got shit done, you know. We built trails. We did a sweat lodge. We had sacred combats. We ate amazing food. Bless the Kai Kings. They were just incredible, but the sustenance that we needed in order to sustain that energy. And I mean, we would go from like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning right through to 10, 11 o'clock at night. And it was just unbelievable, the energy levels and the container that was created in order for us to individually and as a group do what we had to do. But Bridge, the most important thing for me on that weekend was the meeting of another man in front of him and seeing him and being seen and holding that gaze with no animosity, with no aggression, with no
agenda.
Correct. That's a great word. And actually just seeing it for the person and the man that he is.
And them seeing you for the man
and
that you are.
being witnessed at the same time. And a brotherhood was formed. And it's not a separatist thing. It's not an us and them thing. It was just a recognition of what I needed to go, okay, cool. I need to focus on me in order for me to show up as the best version of myself. If I can look after me and take care of what's going on inside, that then transmutes outwardly to my beautiful wife sitting opposite me and my daughter, and naturally around the work space in my life. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and I think the distinction between a brotherhood like that, getting together and honouring your lives and yourselves in order that you can honour the community and the partners and the people in your life, I think is a really significant thing, where we see the emergence of the manosphere coming up, where there is a younger generation of men who are seeing themselves as totally separate from women and totally superior to women, and that women are inferior. And it's a really hurtful dialogue to watch, and it's, I think, distinctly painful for where men and women sit in terms of being in relation to each other. So, getting back to where our relationship was before you went, I would definitely agree that there was some dis-ease, there was some shaky ground, there was, we weren't quite meeting each other anymore, we weren't quite seeing each other. And I think that has unfortunate knock-on effects, because it affects everything that comes out as a result of the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, the partnership is something that then starts to splinter. The communication starts to splinter. The fact that we are individuals who work quite well together starts to splinter, and we're becoming individuals who were working as individuals, but not together anymore.
I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that I realized when I came back from the weekend was when we saw each other after the 4 days and you looked at me, I recognized something in you that I hadn't seen in a long time, and it was a softening. It was a recognition that standing opposite you was the man that you fell in love with. Okay. And I think that eased a lot of the tension that was between us, because you'd felt, and we've spoken about this, that you didn't have to look after both of us, that I'd claimed my power and claimed my space back. Hence, you could actually just go,
yeah.
And that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Because even though I might not have my shit sorted out in terms of, maybe getting to the point of financially looking after us, or it's a work in progress, what I'm saying is I've claimed my power back.
Yeah.
And that was very noticeable.
Yeah, certainly was for me, because I kept saying, in my own head, I kind of wanted Louis 2.0 to walk through the door, and I knew what that felt, and I knew what that looked like. And when you got back from that weekend, that was definitely Louis 2.0. And I know afterwards you were concerned that you needed to hold on to what had happened there.
Sure.
And I kept saying, it's already integrated into you. And it's amazing that such a small event can be so significant in every other part of your life. So when you think about that fire, the embers had kind of, and I'm not sure how or why they had. I think that you had, we always allow things to happen to ourselves. It's never anybody else's fault. I think that you had allowed your own voice to just overwhelm you. and it was washing over you. And instead of
Well, I was looking for an outer. I was looking for something from the outside when it had to come from within.
exactly.
That's how I recognized it over the weekend. It's like the voice inside me, the fire inside me, not being validated or looked for from the outside.
Yeah, and we know personally that is one thing that I absolutely hate. I hate to have to encourage people. I hate to have to say, yes, you look fine. Everything is okay.
It doesn't have to come from you.
Yeah.
If you feel that you need to say it, it comes from a place of like, wow, you really look good, or I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Because it comes forward because you're recognizing it comes from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Otherwise, I just resent having to do that.
It's a push away rather than a pull towards.
So it makes one think about, being in marriage. You start off, and this is a typical journey in a poem and a love story. You start off and it's all so exciting, and this person can do no wrong. And then you get how long have we been married for?
So it's interesting. We'll get on. We'll get onto this in a second. We've been married we've known each other for 26 years. We got together in 2000. And
2000,
we got married on the 8th of the 8th of the 8th in
2008, that's right, So we've had enough of a journey together.
Absolutely.
And we came together much later in our lives. I mean, I was, I think...
Nearly 38-ish?
No, I kenned you when I was 40. So how could I have been...
I don't know. I'm not very
Swear to
good
God, you and maths.
I'm me and maths. Sorry, my numbers.
So I think you were, because we had your 30th birthday in Botswana.
2000, yes.
And so and I'm just a few years older than you, just only a few.
Bless. Yeah.
So we were early 30s when we decided that we wanted to get married. When we decided that we'd worked and lived in other countries, we'd traveled enough, we'd experienced life enough, and we decided that was a union that we wanted to keep and take forward.
Yeah.
So I've always felt that there was a slightly stronger, different foundation to our relationship, one that was born out of maturity and experience and that sort of thing. So it really surprised me to get to this stage of being married for 18 years, to find that I was feeling very alienated from you.
Yeah.
And wondering whether I actually wanted to be in this relationship anymore.
Like, what was it giving you? What was it giving me? Like,
what were we giving to each other?
Yeah, like
how were we building each other up?
Like I get to a point and you think, what am I getting out of this and what am I giving? And is it worth it?
So were you feeling that?
I was definitely feeling it after a conversation that we had, that that you said we were in two different wakas, we were in two different boats, and we were sort of drifting along next to each other, but those
going
currents,
in different directions. Our currents were taking us.
And 26 years is a long time in anybody's book.
Yeah, sure. Okay?
It's a long time. When we met each other, it was a certain phase, and we've seen each other go through various iterations. I've seen you blossom and motherhood and businesswoman, and you've seen me grow up and do what I've had to do, to the point now where I kind of know who you are and you know who I am. But do I? Because the reason I say that is that I would be a fool to think that it would be the same as the beginning. Things change.
100%.
Things change, you change.
And we start to make...
Physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. So. And it's up to me to be able to adapt and change, because I still love you.
Yeah.
From the bottom of my heart. Yeah. Essentially, I think that's what's allowed me to look through a different lens and go, I want to be in this. I choose to be in this. And I'm happy to go through the next 28 years, 30 years for this. So what do I do about that? I recommit to myself and recommit to you.
Yeah, because relationships very much are about the give and take. They're about the compromise, until it comes to a point where you're compromising yourself too much. And there are things that you can't go beyond. So I'm certainly not saying every marriage or every relationship, whether it's a friendship or a marriage or whatever the case is, not everyone is worth saving.
I just don't want to do life without you.
No, but it did come to a point where I could almost imagine life without you.
But we both did.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the difference for you? What made the difference?
There was definitely Louis 2.0 who walked back in after that weekend. It was a reclaiming of your own power. It was a spark. You dropped that like wilted kind of life is battering me like thing, which I hate. I can't help that. I hate that kind of weakness. I really do. It doesn't bring out the best in me. And I don't know if that's my old monkey brain, the animal inside. We all have this animal brain back in. I don't know if it's that, and if I haven't managed, if I'm not, advanced enough to have tamed that, but it just brings out the absolute worst in me.
It just goes back to what you were talking about, the manosphere and that. And essentially for me, and this is how I see the world, is the ego or that monkey mind, whatever you want to call it, the brain, it just wants to survive. It just wants to make you, so it predicts, how can I get out of this alive? And for me, I had to drop into the heart space and go, okay, cool, I hear you. I'm aware of that. But just soften. Don't necessarily speak. Don't necessarily ask or even open your mouth. Just be there and just listen. And in that space, and be the observer of what's actually happening in the mind, allows a little bit of space for me to respond and not react. Just take a breath.
Indeed.
And respond rather than react. So, and I really appreciate you saying that to me. So thank you.
Well, look, if there's nothing else in our relationship, there is always honesty, because neither of us are very good at hiding things. No. And it's that feeling when you start to just walk beside each other without even seeing each other. Yeah. And that for me was I guess was the hardest part. And once I'd realized that that's where we were, that we weren't actually even seeing each other anymore. We didn't want to recognize because there was
that's weird, eh?
Yeah.
It was an uncomfortable, horrible space to be in.
And I guess that's relationships have that,
Bear with me. So these that I gave, I went and dug in my wedding suit.
Okay.
And I found these in the pockets.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to read these. These are my marriage vows to you.
Okay.
From this day on, I choose you, my beloved Bridget, to be my wife. I promise to live with you and laugh with you, to stand by your side, to have you sleep in my arms. I promise to bring joy to your heart and food to your soul, to bring out the best in you always. I promise to laugh when it's good times.
I promise to laugh at you often.
Often, yeah. To struggle with you in the bad and to solace when you are downhearted. I promise to wipe away your tears with my hands, to comfort you with my body. I promise to be your friend always, to respect and honor you, to be truthful and kind to you. I promise to mirror you with my soul, to share with you all my riches and honors. Well,
okay, so we're still waiting for that bit.
Yeah.
So did you put a date on that?
I didn't put a date on
that. I want to share all my riches when 2027 rolls around.
To play with you as much as I can until we grow old and still love you sweetly and gladly until our lives come to an end.
That's very sweet.
That was the 8th of the 8th, 2008. Yeah. Can you believe it?
Thank you for sharing that with me. I reckon you're still on track.
Yes.
And maybe when we talk about riches, we're not talking about gold and diamonds and.
No, maybe not.
Maybe we're talking about.
I'm going to add this.
Be able to sit with your family and play multiple rounds of Wormspan from the beginning to the end, and always be the humblest of losers.
It's a great game. But I just want to add one thing. I heard this beautiful podcast the other day from Rich Mulholland, and he said something which I'm going to share with you today. In this day and age of like comparison and men, etc., and you look out to men that are not necessarily on the right track or whatever the case is. But he used the example of Elon Musk. Yes. Now, Elon Musk is very successful and mega wealthy, etc. But if you put him on a Venn diagram or a chart, in one area, he is over-indexed. I mean, he's going to Mars and Tesla and the whole thing. So he's extremely successful. But on the rest of it, categorically, I am more successful than Elon Musk. I'm a better husband and a better father. Categorically. And I will argue anybody that says otherwise, because I realize what I have successfully and still working on and in of what that means to be a brother, a father, and a husband.
And a son.
And a son. Yeah.
Yeah. But we say this often. The measure of wealth
Absolutely.
is not
what
is
it
not
did,
your riches. The
what it
measure
did
of
for
wealth.
me is a comparison game. Like, oh, look at that, so successful. It was a reminding of like, okay,
Yeah.
different courses for different horses,
Different courses, different horses for different horses.
yeah.
Something like that.
It's
Yeah.
our own individual journey.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think that the thing that stands out for me so clearly, and this is a story, I mean, this you were with me when this happened, was when my cousin Craig died.
Yeah, that was early in our relationship.
And the church was huge, and it was so full. There were so many people there. And that stood the testament to who he was as a human, the richness of all of the relationships that he had, and that does
Speaks
count
volumes,
a lot.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Speaks volumes.
if we can have successful relationships around us and see ourselves in relation to somebody else, that's
You have to work at it,
you do have to work at it.
and it's not hard. It's an acknowledgement, and it's a self-awareness piece.
Yeah, sure. You know, another insight that I had when we were talking, when you just got back from Wellington, is that it's so much easier to measure yourself in relation to somebody that you're in a relationship with. It's so much easier to grow when you're in a relationship because you have that person who mirrors constantly, who mirrors back to you constantly.
Yeah.
And if you're alone in this world, I think it's that much harder. Like, how do you, like, what is the mirror you hold up to yourself if you're not in a relationship with anybody?
It's an interesting question, because I think sometimes being alone is very important for you to actually figure out I think it's very important to be alone so that I can figure out my
But you can be alone
stuff.
in a relationship and come back to it.
Yeah. I understand the sentiment that you're saying, because the person opposite me is a direct mirror and reflection of what I'm saying. But I've got to be self-aware enough to go, okay, cool, that's not cool, or I need to work here, or draw the line here. I mean, one of the biggest things that I realized over the last couple of weeks is my decisiveness and my directness. And it's not about being
Your lack of decisiveness.
before.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Before. So now there's been a decision to say, okay, cool, I'm going to do this, or this is what it costs. Or so what come out of it is I don't have to passively agree and pander to say what is the right thing to say in this moment.
No.
Because that gets me nowhere, and it makes me feel like I'm not being heard. And I'm not talking about being arrogant or obnoxious. I'm just going, this is what I cost, or this is the decision I've made.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's very empowering.
Yeah.
And I mean, we should know this stuff, but it's a constant feeding that fire. It's feeding that fire and keeping that flame alive in order to burn brightly and be then show up for me in order to show up for you.
I think that if you consider yourself like a mountain, over time that mountain erodes. There's rain and there's environmental factors. And if you're not constantly building the strength of that mountain, keeping everything consistent and sacred around that mountain, yes, it does tend to be washed away by tides and by bad weather if there are no roots that keep it strong. And that's really our job on earth, is to know ourselves. I must know myself. That's the only thing I have to do here. Because if I know myself, I know when I've overstepped a moral mark. I know when I'm falling out of spiritual context with myself. I know when I'm not following or being true to myself. So if I know myself, that surely is my only point of being alive.
Do you see that as a mirror through me?
It's an interesting question, because I have to stay congruent with who I am.
Like, what are you feeling right now? Like in your body? Like, if you checked in, like, where are you at now?
In relation to
me?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm back on board with you. We're back in our little waka together, in our boat together.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's fun because I feel like we're rowing in the same direction. And it's interesting analogy for water, because water means everything in my life.
Yeah.
And for you, you'd rather be on dry land.
No, but I'm in the waka, it's dry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's absolutely fine. I appreciate that. What would you like to see happen going forward? Just if you could.
I just need you to stay congruent, and I need you to stay true to who you are. Okay. Yeah, don't ask me for permission to be or to breathe or to do or to say or to do anything.
I
because that really does bring
I
out the absolute worst in me.
I respect that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I said it to you a little while ago. We have to be our individual people.
Correct. And I think that's more so being I'm recognizing that more and more so the further we go down in this waka and as we're in relation with one another, that it's okay, but we can come back to each other and we can relate.
Yeah. One also has to be clear about how this relationship between us became so codependent, because we changed countries. We were actually the only thing that we had in those very, very dark times, a couple of years back, which were very dark times. It was, everything was scary, from work to immigration.
It's a huge point in terms of just me being able to rely on you, and I was in survival mode. We now think
both of us were. So it becomes a habitual pattern that you follow.
Yes, and the negatives outweigh the positives.
Eventually, because that pattern of behaviour that
accepted.
was so necessary then is eventually not necessary anymore, but it's still a pattern of behaviour that you both fall back on.
So we had to look at it and crack that open and find what new behaviours do we need to do in order to carry on the next chapter.
And you remind me of the story about we were listening to that podcast a little while ago about beliefs, and there is a tool for every job. You can't
a carpenter.
Yes, a carpenter doesn't
just have a chisel.
Yes, exactly. He doesn't tackle everything with just a chisel. He's got a whole workroom, a whole workbench, a whole toolbox. And we in life have that. So instead of tackling things with just a hammer or just a chisel, use all of the tools at your disposal and open your brain to recognizing what those tools possibly are. So for me, Louis, the trick is to keep a guard on your own personality.
Yep.
Make sure that you're for me, I must make sure that I'm constantly open to learning and that I'm always honest with myself. Because if I'm honest with myself, I can be honest with you. And the truth is, I would much rather go into my future knowing that you are there.
Halala.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably the bottom line for me.
It's a perfect segue to finish this podcast.
Yes.
This is a poem by Rumi.
Oh, yes.
Which was shared to me by John Ball, who's one of the brothers from the bros community. Mm-hmm. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep.
Oh, that's lovely. And that's lovely.
Don't go back to sleep.
Neither of us.
I love you.
On that note, I sometimes think that there is a lot of wisdom to be had. Like if you read the writings of Khalil Gibran, if you read Rumi, and there's a wisdom there that we can take.
And tap into.
Yeah. I love you, Louis Bolton.
I'm not shaking your hand.
I want you to shake my hand.
I'll shake your hand.
Okay, well, cut this a bit out then. Okay, I love you, big girl.
Can I ask you a question? The Bolton Ink Effect.